What is going on, everybody? This is SCPCRNP, aka Lack of Lepers, and my camera has been fudged. Let's see what we can do about that. That's a little better framing. Hi, you can see my daughter's toy in the background. It's nice. Look at that. X. So, little goodies left all over the house. What's going on? It's SCPCRNP, aka Lack of Lepers, and thank you so much for joining us tonight on our Thursday night reaction series, where we continue what we did on Tuesday night. Before we get into it, I just got a rant. Not rant. I got a rave. Not like rave, but like I just watched this week's episode of Better Call Saul. What a show! What a show! I mean, wow. I'm not going to ruin anything for those of you who like that, but you should definitely check it out. And I just want to point out how good this show is, okay? Part of me, you know, you look around the world of people who cover different things, and you occasionally come across some people, and you get a little jealous because the content that they cover is like leagues better than the content that you cover. So, you know, people who are doing commentary on, let's say, Better Call Saul, I'm a little envious. You know, I'm working with the SCP. You know, it's good. It's where I want to be. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to bash it. But sometimes it's like just seeing somebody drive by with a nice car. You're like, damn. And this show is so damn good. And let me just explain one way in which it is so damn good, and then we'll get back into the video that we've been doing, which is a djkaktus interview. And it's that in the show, the characterization is so good, it's so acute, and it's so clear and crisp that other characters, that one character acting out of character in the show causes other people to get really suspicious. That's what happened this week. And it was just amazing to see. They're like, that doesn't sound like that guy. That doesn't sound like Lalo. So something must be going on. And when you have that well-defined characters, it's just amazing to watch. So we're going to get back into what we've been doing, as I said. How y'all doing tonight? Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. You know who you are. And thanks for joining us. And there we go. That's a little better. Although, okay. So we've been listening to this stream. Once again, it's very, very quiet. That has been acknowledged in the show notes. So we're doing what we can. So after I play this, I'm going to adjust my little knobs here to make it to where it's as loud as it can be. And my voice is not too much louder than that. So you may have to turn up the volume on your end during this and then turn it back down after you're done, because God help you. And God rest your ears if you don't. But I'll try to remind you on the way out. Which is the least I can do. So we are about 50 minutes into this interview. Once again, just a very enjoyable interview in my opinion. A lot to talk about. So I always like listening to djkaktus. I don't agree with him most of the time, but that's kind of beside the point, right? Because we still have a great time. I still have a great time listening and discussing and thinking about these things. So let's do it, and I'll do a little mic check.
Very cool that was. I mean, that's a cool pull.
Check.
Story about Jasper's Hill.
Check.
The picture of Jasper.
Check.
Hill is my brother.
Check.
Because he's a redneck who
Chickadee
had a truck that he drove around the hills with. And he sent me that picture one night, and he asked me if I could.
Here I am.
Put him in an SCP.
Chickadee.
I would. And we got a kick out of that one. So
okay. Oof.
Whether or not I'm going to do anything else with it.
Nah.
Hard to say, especially right now. I just have so many things lined up.
Don't do it.
That I can't even really start thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, maybe you shouldn't.
That is, you know, maybe it's cool. It's actually really cool to see that people like still know that article exists.
Yeah. Good article.
Which is maybe a crazy thing to say.
Nope,
because there's been videos and stuff done about it. But
really?
when I think of like big name articles that I've written that people know about, that is not ever one that comes to mind.
COVID.
So that's pretty cool.
My coughing.
Are you making a whole new language or just bits and pieces as you go for an authentic feel? No.
There's that saxophone, baby.
I can never remember how exactly you say his name because it's 3 words in short succession. He's
always
in
tough.
SCPD. Let me find him real quick. Hang on. Lonling Lin is his name. He's in
Interesting.
SCPD. He is a linguist, and
Cool.
he is extremely talented. And when I first started talking about, because what I was using for the language in Paragon articles for a long time.
The background music is now Bill Weathers. Ain't no sunshine till she's gone.
Was Phoenician, and I don't know a lick of Phoenician. All I knew was that the characters looked kind of fun, and that was going to be my, sit-in language, my stand-in language, because it was a language that nobody speaks because it's a dead language.
Where are we?
He
52
was,
minutes.
Kind of my go-to person for this, because he knew more about Phoenician than I did. At the same time, he
Okay.
then eventually came
Apologies to Bill Weathers, whose music is just great.
along, was like, you
But
could just
we're gonna speed this up just a bit.
make a new language, right? Like, you can do like a conlang for this. And I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. I have no idea how to do that. And he goes, oh man, if only you knew a linguist who could do this. Wild. And then volunteered to help. And he's been invaluable. The guy's
She
an actual
goes
genius,
away.
as opposed to my just like pretend genius. So
What's going on, you guys?
it's
How
a
you
lot of
doing
it's a ton
today?
of fun to work with him on that.
It's Thursday, end of the week.
effectively he's
Ish.
the work he's done there has been really, really impressive.
No,
so
I
to answer
know,
your question,
I
yes,
know.
it's a whole new language. It's probably not like
I know,
super
I
fully
know.
fleshed out yet, but there are
That like whole new language thing, that authors do. It's like, it's like the, I don't know. It's like the Olympics of lore building or like world building, like making your own language. It's very Tolkien-esque. I don't know. I mean, I guess some people are into that. I'm not trying to bash it. You do you, whatever you're into. But I don't know, man. Just seems excessive, honestly.
there are rules for it. It has its own grammar, its own instruction.
Sure.
The only thing we haven't done yet is develop.
I mean, it's not. I hate to say this too, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not a linguist, but languages are really crazy. I mean, you don't really have to have a lot of strict logic to it. Like English is a good example. Like English, it has guidelines, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. So, I mean, you could probably cobble together a language, kind of like piecing them together. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying it's not easy. I'm not saying it's not hard. I mean, but I don't know.
A lot of the vocabulary, but that will happen.
Stellar commentary tonight. Just kind of shrugging that one across the finish line of the statement. Good job.
Time, so who knows? Plus, the script he made for it looks very cool.
Yeah, I'm
and
sure.
I
That's
really
that's
like the idea
probably a
of
pretty
using
cool
that,
part.
in upcoming articles.
Probably all about the visuals, right? My favorite games do this though, like Zelda, Final Fantasy games do this. So I mean, hey, pretty cool. Certainly.
Let's see. Ash asks, what do you use to write SCP articles, like software templates, techniques, etc.? I talked about this a little bit actually on the half of the interview I did yesterday with Sean Saxon. But I don't really I always start top to bottom, right? Like there's never an instance where I like write the description ahead of time. I always put things top to bottom, and then we'll go back and change things as they change and develop later in the article.
Anytime
and
she goes
that is
away.
problematic sometimes because sometimes we'll change things but forget to go back and change them later, which is where a lot of like the plot holes in my stuff comes from. That is a factor of me being kind of a disorganized writer. I hope it's part of the appeal. I try to work most of those things out though.
I think writing in a top-down fashion, like he's talking about, is far and away the more superior way to write. If you go from bottom up, I mean, you're basically like a rat in a maze, and you're about as successful, as one as well. You can kind of sniff the cheese in the air. You kind of know it's there. You don't know where it is. You're trying to get to it. You don't really know where to go. You're sort of following your nose. As opposed to top-down writing. Top-down writing I think is more miraculous because you know what you want to say, you know where you want to go. A good example from this interview is that bodies in the water, thing. That's going to be in there. I mean, you kind of know what you want to do. And it's just this miracle as you draft and brainstorm and write to see everything sort of just like fall into place and take shape. It's almost like the difference of trying to build up a bunch of solids to where they stack decently on top of one another, or the top-down flow of a liquid that just fills the cup and just ends up contouring to everything below it. So I certainly think that he's doing it the right way. Not that he needs my approval. Surely the evidence is, the proof is in the pudding, I suppose. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's difficult to do. It can be done, and when it does, it's like a Hail Mary. You're just crazy that it worked. But yeah, top down.
But as far as like software, I use primarily for images and stuff. I use Photoshop. I've used Photoshop for ever. And I'm not very good at it. If you want to see somebody who's really good at Photoshop, you should go watch some of Valdivia's streams because that guy is actually talented, as opposed to me, who's just pretend talented.
Pretend talented, huh?
Stuff. And then templates, not really. I have like a kind of base CSS template that I use for most of the articles that I write now. That has like the ACS header and all the black highlighter stuff in it, and then it has some of the images, the sizing that I like, especially those, like I was the first person who started doing those like full width headers.
That's actually not true. I'm sorry to say. I am sorry to say. I thought that too, and that's why I say this. I got my that was a sentence. I got my keyboard back, which is nice. This is kind of the first article to do it, kinda. Okay, I mean, I don't know if you can really call this what Cactus does, but I was speaking with someone who's been around the SCP for like 13 years. No big deal, and that person was like, no, like SCP 2000 did it, and there are other instances of this. So I'm not trying to take that away from Cac Daddy here, but Daddy Cac. I guess he was the first one to make it a little wider to hit 750 pixels and give it a caption. So we can give him that. But this is really the first time that something like that was done and was really prominent, and people kind of noticed it from what I have been told. And this is SCP 2000.
People thought were really stupid at the time.
I stand to be corrected, but this does come from somebody who's been on the wiki for a decade at least.
Excuse me. But I can tell you the first article that did that was SCP 3000, which was
okay. Let's actually do this. So we just did 2000. We just did 3000. Y'all be on the lookout for Config Magazine, which apparently only posts false information. So watch out. But yeah, so take a look at Config Magazine in the next day, I guess. Oh, that's cool how that's blacked out now. That's a nice touch. Maybe it's just the link, because it looks like it's actually not the background color. You can kind of see a little black. But Harmony's going to drop an analysis article on SCP-2000, which she was around for, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, you can basically see these images. I mean, if you want to claim that this is kind of the first of it, I guess you can do that. Like I said, it's a little, the height is less. The width is probably, just eyeing it here, call it, I don't know, they kind of look the same, guys. But this is certainly the first one that was incorporated into a sort of header thing, so I guess that's true as well. But, some people, I don't know. Maybe he forgot. Some people forget. It's called cryptomnesia, and that has nothing to do with cryptocurrency. I'm not going to spell this right. Holy gosh. Yeah, it is. Cryptomnesia. Cryptomnesia. The appearance and consciousness of memory images which are not recognized as such, but which appear as original creations. Cryptomnesia occurs when a forgotten memory returns without it being recognized as such by the subject who believes it is something new and original. So that kind of maybe applies here. Don't know. It just depends. I mean, sure, we can split some hairs and get technical with it, sure.
Which was very cool. So all of that stuff is packaged into.
When you speed up this DJ Cactus background music to 1.5, it sounds like Mario Kart.
Well, what I guess would call my template, but it's not really a template as much as it is just like a list of things that I have that I put in most every article. Let's see here. Yes, 4971. Yes, that is the deer one. You're right. 4970. Mush Brain. This is Sunday morning. Let's see. Wholeheartedly love Jasper Hill, big slasher movie fan, and your take on it rules. Yeah, that article's a ton of fun to write. It was especially a ton of fun to see the reaction. Like I said, I wrote that article kind of about my brother, and included him in it and his response to it. He's kind of a stoic dude anyway. He doesn't really emote very much, but he thought that was very cool, and so I really liked that. That was a lot of fun.
What are the questions we got coming in?
SCP Archives did an episode on it. Yes, they did. And oh man, I'm glad you brought that up. Speaking of other great podcasts, SCP Archives is great. If you haven't gone and listened to them yet, you should check them out. Their version of Jasper's Hill is really good. Like I was actually compelled by it. The acting in it is really, really, really good. I would check it out. I'm really glad you brought that one up because an underappreciated podcast right now. I think I don't know how appreciated they are, but however much it is, it's under what they deserve. Let's see. What 3 things did Marshall bury in 3790? Oh wait, hang on, I skipped one. Ash asks, did the administrator help Calvin kill the O5 council because he wants to use him as a pawn in the wider
Plus
scope of
baseball.
things, or does he just want to have some fun? There's an answer to this.
Man, I think this would be more interesting to me. I'm not saying much because this is just all about the minutiae of his lore, and certainly I'm not educated on this stuff.
I think it's more about like the administrator is efficient, right? Like the entity that is the administrator, and this is we're talking about the way it ends for people who aren't like don't know immediately what I'm talking about.
Yep.
The administrator in the way it ends is very efficient because he's part of the machine, right? The machine of like what the foundation is and what it does. He, how do I even say this? Like, I think he sees value in change. There's a rule in baseball, well, not a rule, but there's like this kind of unspoken, not really unspoken either. There's this mentality in baseball, right? Well, about starting pitchers because generally managers who manage baseball teams don't want to throw their starting pitchers too much. One, because they start to get tired over time and their arms start to wear out. And as they do, the stuff they throw becomes easier to hit. But also because it is.
That's actually a great metaphor for when authors on the SCP Wiki try to like writer bot too much content out at once. It's almost like they're throwing too many pitches. And after a while, you can start to really tell that the arm is getting very, very tired. And, to carry the analogy a little further across home plate, it's very easy for someone like myself who's commentating on articles, check out tomorrow night, by the way, to really hit those very easily, And if I do say so myself, knock them out of the park, I guess. I don't know. Yes. Mm-hmm.
There are statistics to back it up where over time, the more a certain player on the other team sees a pitcher, the more they kind of understand like the nuances and the kind of pitches that they throw and how they throw them. So after 3 times through, after they see a pitcher for the third time, like the third time through the rotation, they become much better at hitting off that pitcher. The stats, back that up. So what
Very
a lot
cool.
of times managers will do then is after.
Man, I love sports. There's so much. There's such intelligence in sports, and people don't really give it the credit. It's very trendy to be like, oh, these like animalistic sports games where they're so carnal and crude, but they're actually quite sophisticated. And I always love someone who can appreciate sports because it's some of the smartest stuff on TV. Certainly the smartest reality TV that's out there.
A pitcher has seen all the batters in the lineup 3 times. A lot of times it doesn't really matter how well they're pitching. They'll pull them and put somebody else in because that at least changes things up and provides variety.
Yeah, I think I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I'm sort of like peripherally familiar with baseball. And I used to play when I was like 10. That was fun. It's a great game, I'll tell you that. More fun to play than it is to watch. I'll also say that. But I think if I'm not mistaken, particularly in like a series, certainly the World Series, they'll do that. They won't start the same pitcher like 2 games in a row, and I guess it's for that reason. It's also to let the pitcher rest. But if I'm not mistaken, I don't know a lot about baseball, but I think that's what happens.
I think you could more or less say the same thing applied in this case, where like the administrator recognizes that
Angels in the Outfield. That's a good movie.
There's been a lot of the same thing for a while, and he doesn't want things
You got an angel with you right now.
to get complacent. So he, instituted some change, or he saw an avenue by which change could be instituted, and did not. Obviously, he doesn't want just some rando nobody who walks in there has no idea what he's doing to kind of do the thing. But given the opportunity to put somebody else in who could have a sturdy hand on the wheel, I think he probably would have seen value in that, and so he did it. So I think that's probably what the answer is there. Moving right along, because oh man, we're already at an hour. Jesus, you're right, Andrew. I'm gonna go maybe another 15-20 minutes. I have some things I need to do today. I am stoked we started on time. I hope there weren't too many kinks in this whole thing. Yeah, I think I've got most of the stuff worked out, and I hope there's some value in this still. But we'll clean some things up here
For sure, you got to work on the audio, but there's tons of value here.
real quick. What three things did Marshall bury in 3790? What three things did Marshall bury in 3790? Am I remembering this wrong? Hang on.
What is 3790?
Look here real quick.
Now we got to look this one up too. 3790. I wonder if anyone's going to ask
I don't
DJ
know
Cactus
if-
about what is it?
I don't know if it's in
36 3625. Is anybody going to ask him about this? Come on, man. Anybody going to ask him about this one? No, that's not the one. Sorry, it's the wrong one. 3790. Hold on, let's go there. 3790. Okay, what's this? Let's hear him talk about it. Oh, this is the Department of Abnormalities. It's a good one. It's a good one. Ooh, look at that picture.
In to never again see the light of day tale. He talks about burying some things. I think I left that purposely vague because I don't have an exact answer for it. I think it's just supposed to be kind of indicative of the DOA's kind of whole mentality, right? Where they're not containing things so that they can study them and learn more about the anomalous world and how it all works. What they're doing is taking things and putting them in a hole very far away and saying, we're never going to touch this again. For the good of mankind, this cannot ever. We're not going to look at it. We're not going to touch it. Honestly, we're not even going to acknowledge it's there. We're going to completely forget about this thing, and that is the way it needs to be.
Very cool.
I can't remember exactly what the three things were, if I had ever had an intention for them, but I think it's more just like set dressing.
It's just great to hear about the DOA because the DOA is really like, its best foot forward is like ambiance. It's like its atmosphere. And so just listening to, the philosophy behind it, the idea behind it, the intention behind it, is really cool to see how that sort of pushes and wafts this sort of atmosphere into all of these articles. It's really nice.
For Conlang, how would SCP-4000 impact it? It wouldn't, not really, because the children of the stars, the fairies didn't speak the Conlang or that language. If they had a language at all, I never really saw fairies as having like a language as much as they were just like able to communicate with each other. I mean, that's kind of a dumb thing to say. They probably would have a way to talk, but I don't know. I'd say in general the bigger impact on that language were the Davites, because the Davites in Paragon are actually men. They're just like a different, I guess, ethnic group, or actually humans. Sorry, they are humans in a different ethnic group that had some genetic changes. They are a different subrace, I guess. And they are the biggest recorders of history because the humans that lived in like Apollyon did not record their history because they just assumed they would exist forever and there would always be people around to talk about it. Thankfully, the Davites did not. They recognized the value in recording a history, and they did that. So,
that's what I'm talking about. Listen to that music.
Comprehensive, or a more involved effect on how that language was carried on throughout time. But the fairies probably not. Let's see, nothing less genius about knowing who to work with that makes stuff happen. I'm excited to see more. Yeah, and I should say this too. Just kind of on the whole, I don't feel like I credit the people who I've worked with in the past nearly enough.
All right. All right. Hold on. Wait. Method to the madness. We have to go to his webpage again. Hey, by the way, while we're on this topic, DJ Cactus has a page called djkaktus, which is just amazingly clever. That he caught the .us for his name. So cool. So this, besides looking a little subpar for Cactus's visual talents, is a page that has been around since. Oh, look, he's got like upcoming projects. That's pretty cool. It's a page that's been around since 2000 and God, how long has this thing been around? Wayback Machine. Let's check this out. It's been around like early 20-teens. I mean, this site has been around for a long time, and the reason why it's 2018. I could have sworn it was around before then. But the reason that I want to bring this up is because, you know, people, I've seen people say this. People say this. People say this all the time in like SCP spaces and stuff. And I just want to set the record straight. So people will say that djkaktus was doxxed by Kiwi Farms, right? And of course, the implication being, I guess, myself and maybe Harmony or something like that. I don't have it on the screen. I don't think it's worth going to try to find on this stream. Maybe I'll find it later and show you later. But djkaktus on this webpage, on his personal webpage, back when he first started it, in the early years of it, put his full name on the site. He had a section on this page, on this webpage, that listed his full name, first and last name, next to a picture of himself. And you can see right here, he talks about how he's living near Atlanta, Georgia. So I just want to set the record straight. I mean, you can define doxing whatever you want to. Obviously, that's your right, and I'm not really interested in changing your mind particularly, about that. But, if somebody has publicly released information, as to where they are located around, and their full name, their first and last name, and pictures of themselves, I fail to see how repeating that, in another spot of the internet is doxing. But anyway, so that's just what happened there. Okay, so I've never doxed anybody. I've never released any information about somebody that wasn't already made public, and that does include chat. That does include chat logs, which are legally public. And of course, the things said in chat, particularly something like the SCP staff chat, you're saying that to essentially a room full of people. No one in there has signed a non-disclosure agreement. These things are not protected. They are not legally backed in the way that your confidential information is with your doctor-patient relationship or your lawyer-client relationship is. Those things are legally defined and, quite honestly, by common sense, defined as public. Anybody who thinks that they can say something in a chat room that's public and then go back and micromanage the distribution of that subsequently is failing to take responsibility for their actions and the information that they've released. And of course, I think that about myself too. I've self-doxed myself in ways, and obviously when people repeat that on the internet, I cannot in good conscience blame them for doxing, because that's kind of dumb. But I just want to point out that this page right here, the URL was a little different. So if you go to the Wayback Machine on the right URL, you get to a contact page. I have a link of it on my blog. It's not hard to find. It's archived, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But Cactus puts his name, full name on there. He's not shy about it, never has been. So the people who say that he was doxxed because we repeated his first and last name and that he lives near Atlanta, Georgia, I mean, guys, come on. But anyway, back to what I was initially going to this for. I think he changed this. Yeah, with Art and Jorth. Like, it's like kind of teeny down there. And he does give him credit here, so that's nice. I think these things used to not be here. I don't think he was giving people the credit visually as well.
People I think assume, just because of the name that ends up on the article, when it's all said and done, that I am like this one-man working machine who comes up with all this stuff by myself. Very rarely is that the case. 9 times out of 10, I'm getting ideas. People, in the groups that I run in, we talk about things and bounce stuff off of different people. All the artists I've worked with have been incredible. The people who have worked and critiqued my articles, people who have contributed different things or contributed ideas. 3790, for example, people forget that that article sucked bad before Croquembouche came along and contributed some really great ideas to it.
Really?
Which is why Croquembouche is included in the credits as a co-author.
Is that how you say it? Croquembouche? Of course it is, because it's French. I think I'd been saying Croquembouche, but Croquembouche just Mwah.
People never remember that, but Crocabush is
It's like a pastry.
the reason why that article doesn't suck. And I think I get almost too. I think I get way too much credit because of being djkaktus and I've got the name and everything. But there are a lot of people who I've worked with and alongside who deserve way more than they have received so far. So if you ever see another name, like if I ever link another name in any of my articles, like any of the comments or as a co-author, seriously, go check out the things they've written. I don't work with people who I think are just kind of riding along or along for the ride. Rather, they all have done tons of great stuff. And you are missing out if you're not looking into their work too. Let's see. Why did Hector even bother marrying wives if he was so focused on King Sarus? Oh, poor Hector. I think a lot of it was because it's like a power thing, right? Where like he loved King Sarus the Eighth. He was probably in love with King Sarus the Eighth. Whether or not Sarus reciprocated, it's kind of hard to say. Because Sarus was a Sky King, and having affection for any of his loyal subjects would probably be a little uncouth and unexpected. And Sarus the Eighth's dad was a piece of shit. I can't remember what name I gave him. I think it's something that's discussed in either the Paragon document or in Demon Ogier, but he was not a good dude. I mean, Sarus the Eighth wasn't a good dude either, to be perfectly fair. He tried to genocide the fairies, but he was a product of his own upbringing. And I don't know if I think in general,
dang it,
it would have been, I don't know. I think it was probably expected to have wives because prolong the lineage kind of deal. And so having really
you kind of got to have not wives, I'm talking about. You kind of got to have mothers to prolong a lineage, don't you? Are we there yet? I don't know.
Relationships with people of the same sex would have been not. I don't think it was illegal because Lahire was absolutely bedding down just about anybody who walked into his house, and people weren't giving him too much trouble for it. But I think he had so many wives to keep up appearances, and maybe to compensate for the fact that he wasn't able to be with the one man on Earth he really wanted to be with. Hector's story is sad, I think. I feel, of all the characters that I've written, his is maybe the most tragic. But in the meantime,
is Hector the demon Hector of 6666?
He turned into a fucking a badass. So seeing people respond to that in the way that I intended, I didn't want Hector to just be this big brainless monster, which is the reason why he has a monologue at the very end of 6666. And people have responded to that one very well, which is super cool. Let's see, 1 hour. Yeah, we'll be wrapping up here before too long. If you have anything else, now's the time to ask it. Just FYI. I know this was a little bit shorter than the last one was, but the circumstances are a little bit different. Do you have any ideas for your rewrite of Atonement? Yes, it's all going to be different. The setting is going to be the same.
Let's slow this one down. This might be where it gets a little better.
And kind of because I want to reuse a lot of the same images because they're very, very good. But the motivations are going to be much different, and the ending is going to be a lot different. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I need to get to, I want to get to a place where I can not have to rewrite too much in the way it ends to make it to retcon it. The ending is going to be hopefully meet in the same place, but getting there is going to be a lot different. And beyond that, there's not too much I want to say right now. Not because I don't have ideas, but because I want it to be a surprise for the person who I'm writing it for. So bear with me. That one's coming hopefully fairly soon. I mean, it's supposed to be a Christmas present, so we will hopefully before Christmas. Let's see what sentient entity, humanoid, whatever that you have written would not be affected by a nut shot. Good question.
Wait. What? What entity would be impervious to a nut shot? Dado's patented nut protection goo. Is that a real article, guys? Okay, so these questions that we're coming across don't seem very interesting. Does Lahire pay child support? He's a shit. You're welcome to join us on Dank Memes. Okay, so this looks like it may be good. I'm just gonna go ahead and skip because this is really getting a little. This is getting a little boring, honestly. I know you can tell.
And he doesn't really get anything from that, so that's kind of messed up. Now that I've said it out loud, but I wrote it, so I guess that's what it is. Let's see. Do you take inspiration from reading technical documents from bureaucratic institutions, or do you classify documents? Because 666 realism of bureaucracy is groundbreaking. Yes and no. I'd say in general. I'm still trying. I don't want my articles to read like technical documents necessarily, but I want them to feel like technical documents. Yeah. Right. I don't feel like reading a textbook is interesting or entertaining.
See, that's the difference between me and him. I love reading textbooks, man. I fucking love it, you know. You hand me a good science textbook, man, I'm right at home. I fucking love that shit. So obviously that's really hard to do in an entertaining fashion on a writing site. You know, but there are people who do this on the SCP Wiki. If you look at a guy named AJ Mansfield, now this is really when we're talking about this guy and what he did, AJ Mansfield, as far as his work, you know, on the SCP Wiki. You know, we're kind of, when I'm talking about what I'm going to talk about, we're kind of getting outside of the genre of containment fiction, because this is just straight up science fiction. It's straight up tale. But this one right here is called the Elementary Time Travel and Causal Analysis, I think. I didn't mean to save that link, but cool. That's, I guess I'll do that while I'm here. If we go to this, this is literally a science fiction textbook written by this guy, AJ Mansfield, who's been around, who was around for a while. I don't really know his history. I know that he got in trouble. He was on staff for a while. Kind of a technical guy, and then got in trouble somehow, probably with something that he said. I don't know what it was. But really, this was one of the things that I read back in 2018 that like blew my mind. You know, I thought this was one of the really, really cool things that that people did. And so unfortunately this didn't get finished. So it's about 3 chapters long, and you can literally go into it, and it's literally a textbook. Chapter 1. I mean, it is literally a textbook. I mean, it has the exact same formatting. It has the exact same thing as a textbook. These 1.2 sections, these equations that are sitting out here with a little parenthetical number telling you what you know, formula it is, so you can use it for later reference. And then this is the craziest part. If you go to different chapters, let's actually go to chapter 2 here. We talk about a bootstrap paradox. And if you get to the bottom here, I mean, look at this. The guy's like, it's totally mathematically convincing. He's using like matrices and shit. And there are actual exercises, guys. Look, at the end of these, there's just like a textbook would be like, all right, let's test your knowledge. Let's make sure you got the lesson down. Answer these like 3 questions or whatever, like, you know, problems, like chapter problems. They're here. They make you solve for X, you know, in these things. It's just crazy. So that's why I thought this was so cool. You know, it really just takes all the things that are unique about the SCP Wiki, you know, and really tries to make a nice science out of them. And it doesn't do that in an SCP. It sort of abandons itself to, you know, operating outside of the genre. So technically this isn't containment fiction to me, but I really, really think this is one of the most clever things on the site. It's certainly a challenge to read. It's not meant to be. This stands in total opposition and antithesis to something like what's mostly on the site, you know, particularly djkaktus's stuff. But it's really challenging to read. But there is just a metric ton of intelligence in this, and it's not like bogus innovation intelligence like pataphysics. It's like actual, like this could be a textbook from the future. Like that's how convincing it is. It's amazing. So yeah, I mean, do I wish that more things were like textbooks on the wiki? No, I really don't. There are people who will write that way. I'm happy to see when they find a niche that appreciates them. But, you know, hey, you can't really go in that direction too often.
At least not for the audience that we have. So while I do try to do quite a bit of work to maintain that kind of facsimile, they are only at surface level are they that way. And every other way they are, you know, they are, how do you even say it? It is much more prose than it is like actual documentation, which some people don't like. Some people wish my stuff was more by the book, and it kind of fit more within that, you know, that standard expectation, but it works so far. Let's see here. Is there some kind of media or process, oh no, that 3812 underwent to be the way it is, like an actual article?
What is 3812, guys? 3812. Do I know this one? Do I know this one? Oof. Yeah, I know this one. Yeah, I know this one. Yeah.
Article you wrote, or did you just go boom? Now you can ascend reality. Yeah, I mean, that whole article.
Come on, man.
Oh, I've said so much about 3812 in the past. The whole article was an experiment on my end. It was like a thought experiment because we had a conversation in the IRC one night about what would happen if you wrote a character that was more powerful, that could supersede the person who wrote it. Like, what would that look like, right? Like, what would effectively eating God look like? What we came up with is that where like it is in the fiction where that universe is able to communicate with me because I'm communicating with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, without going into it, obviously this is a well-liked article, but really the only direction you can move that into is Mary Sueism. Where it once again, it's sort of like a Dr. Manhattan in the fiction. And so, that's what I have to say about 3812.
And also, I am communicating with them because I have done a thing that I did a big oops, a big uh-oh, and made the thing that I can't like erase, I can't undo it. And so as far as process is concerned, I think in universe, the process was just like, I wrote him, and because he was able to supersede me in his universe, he was able to supersede me in my universe, and then every universe above mine, or every narrative above mine, rather. So yeah, I think it was just like, and people kind of assume that it's like a, it's happening gradually over time. I mean, the rule with 3812 is that he supersedes anything that could supersede him, including himself. I think it was instantaneous. He was just immediately, kind of above everything that could possibly be above him, including himself. And as a result, it took his consciousness maybe.
Does that really make sense though? I mean, yeah, when you really turn up the dial that much, I mean, you're only gonna hit absurdities that kind of. I mean, once again, it's like pushing up against the envelope or the barriers or the boundaries. At some point, it ceases to be a sandbox, right? I mean, there's not a lot of profundity in smashing down the wall of a sandbox if the whole point, really the sole defining feature of what it is that you're doing is the sandbox itself. It's like this false bravado of, impressive idea, conjuring when you say, like, I'm going to step outside of the sandbox. I bet you didn't think about that one. Or, hey, I'm going to blow down the wall of this sandbox. It's like, okay, well, I guess that's cool, but I mean, we all could have done that at any point. The idea was kind of just to see what happens, what we can do inside the sandbox, man.
A while to catch up to it, which is where the drama of 3812 comes from. But I don't think it was like, oh, you could have caught him if you'd been a little bit faster. I think as soon as it happened, it was immediate. So, Dado is a sim. Oh God, the Dado nut protection goo is a good statement. You smack down there, and it's just some goo, and you can get your hand out of it. Oh, but it will cost you. Dado will take his chunk of change. You will pay Dado for this.
He actually does that really well. That's exactly how and it is Dado. I have been saying it wrong this whole time. It really is Dado, isn't it? Man, that is a bummer because I've been saying Dado. But listen to this. This is how everybody wants to sound like Dado, excuse me. But this is how he should sound right here.
This is some goo, and
1 second.
Dado is a sim. Faster.
That's
where the drama of 3812 comes from. But I don't think it was like, oh, you could have caught him if you'd been a little bit faster. I think as soon as it happened, it was immediate. So, Dado is a sim. Oh God, the Dado nut protection goo is a good statement. You smack down there, and it's just some goo, and you can get your hand out of it. Oh, but it will cost you. Dado will take his chunk of change. You will pay Dado for this.
That's pretty good, man.
Memes based on these live streams, good or bad idea? Well, I mean, I'm sitting here in a bathrobe. I can't imagine it'll be too good, but yeah, I think it's probably fine. Will top tier patrons, supporters be able to give critique to OGR sneak peek? Yes. So, this is the last thing. I'm glad we're doing it here at the very end. This is the last thing I'll answer.
Oh wow, we're almost done.
Man, I kind of got myself a little bit overboard when I wanted to do when I introduced the top tier, because the top tier, the big thing is the self-inserts, right? Which are cool, and those are all happening. But I honestly maybe underestimated.
You know what? Whatever it takes for the author to not self-insert themselves, cool. If that means, giving the self-insert position that you would be giving to yourself as the author to someone else, a Patreon, then, that's awesome.
How many there would be? There are so many of them that, and I only write so many articles, and I only have so many characters in each article that I'm trying to get them all out, but it takes some time. And so people are, the question then becomes like, well, why would I continue to support you at this tier when I'm only getting the one and I'm not even getting it for a while? And the answer is, you're right. That sucks. The good news is you only ever have to subscribe to that tier once to be eligible for it. If you want to subscribe to that tier for 1 month and then unsubscribe to that tier or go down to another tier the next month, you can do that. And
sounds complicated.
Please do if that is something that is important to you, because those are all going to be coming, but the timeline on them is stretched out like everything else. And the one other thing I think I am gonna do for that tier, just to kind of give people more stuff, is when my articles are finished, before they ever get posted, I'm going to put them there just for that tier, just so they can look at them, and give critique and give ideas and see what they think, and get a first look at what their insert looks like, because for a lot of people, a lot of those people who are subscribed to the level, they'll never see the article until it actually goes up on the wiki, because it's in a sandbox or in a Google Doc somewhere.
Right.
And I want to give those people the same opportunity to see things before they.
I mean, it really is a great idea. It really is a great idea to do that, because if you're at that level, that's really cool. That's really cool. And basically, it's if you think about it from the author's perspective, we're always trying to come up with names like what's the name of this character? Like, what's a decent name? You don't want to make it too flashy. You can't make it something stupid. You got to make it a decent name. What's it going to be? There's like random name generators online I'm sure people use. But this is really cool. I mean, he's basically just like automatic sourcing of character names. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I think that'd be kind of a cool thing to do. So that is the answer to that. The short answer is yes. The long answer is yes, but longer.
That's good.
Just 1,000 in monetization
Also
requirements.
good.
You can get live stream super chats. What? I don't.
All right, let's take
I fully
a
don't
little look down
understand,
here. Hold on.
How the YouTube monetization works. But I
All
also.
right.
Not,
I think we're going to call it
because
there. I think we're going to call it. There's 2 minutes left. There's just a couple questions left. It's talking about self-inserts. So for the remainder of the show, which is just like not a few minutes really, I want to show you what I was talking about earlier. I hope that there are still people here. Hello, Connor McWarren here. What is he talking about? What's going on? Thanks for joining. This was like a couple minutes ago, so I hope you're still here. We're not really talking about anything particular. We just kind of listen to like podcasts on this show, and then just whatever whatever comes about, we just kind of comment on. But right now, I'm going back and I'm justifying a statement that I made earlier. So the statement I made earlier is that there's a lot of misinformation around the SCP spaces about what happened with myself and with Harmony. There's a lot of people who say that we doxed djkaktus, right? And my point back then and now still is that it's not really doxing if the person has released their personal information in a public way already prior to you doing that, right? So if I go and I say djkaktus's actual name, on a website or on this show, if it's been released to the public previously by djkaktus, then I wouldn't necessarily call that doxing. Now, some people would, and I've seen people say this in places where they say, oh, they doxed djkaktus, which is really funny because if you know the history of the wiki, actually djkaktus doxed a kid. So that's actually the truth. But the other truth of it, and I wanted to show you this, is that this is an archive. This is what I was talking about earlier. This is an archive of the djkact.us site. This is his homepage. He designed this. He's run this since 2017 or something like that. This is a capture from 2018. This is how the site used to look. If you go to the top, you click on staff. I'll make sure you see this. If you click on staff, you get this, okay? Look. Okay, this the date of this is July 28th, 2017. Okay, it says exactly where he is or was from. It says his full name. It shows a picture next to it. Okay, it tells you where he lives next to. So I just can't accept the accusation that repeating this information that is that has already been made public is doxing. The same is true right here. I hate to say that, but look, I mean, if somebody wants to do this, they have to take responsibility for their actions. Okay, so if anybody releases their full name on the internet and some detail about them that they wouldn't want other people to know, I'm sorry, but that's no one's fault but your own. And I can't believe that's what Randomini looks like. And there's no way that Shutterstock owns that picture. So. Yeah, Randomini is a great author, by the way. Anyway, I just wanted to make it very clear and show people definitive proof that repeating DJ Cactus's name is not doxing because it was voluntarily released by the individual in 2017 and probably before that. So I don't know if you can call that doxing. If you want to call that doxing, that's your prerogative. I just think it's a little weird that you think that's doxing. All right, so that's been it for tonight. Appreciate y'all showing up and checking it out. That's pretty much the DJ Cactus thing. So we'll be done with that. There's one other DJ Cactus sort of live stream. I don't know if we'll do that. I'll take a look at it. If it's sort of conducive to watching here, then we will. I don't know if you noticed, but towards the end of this interview on this stream particularly, I think the interview sort of lagged at the bit. There wasn't really a lot of discussionable things going on. But having said that, Cactus is always a nice thing to listen to. Always inspires interesting thoughts. Some agreeing, some disagreeing, but interesting nonetheless. And so I do appreciate that. We'll come back to something like that in the future. The next time we'll be doing this is on Tuesday. That's the reaction series. And what we'll do is we'll look at Radiger. Radiger has a video about exposing SCP authors, something like that. And so I thought I was going to listen to it tonight. Because it's kind of come across my desk a few times, so to speak. And so I thought that, it might be something that we should listen to. But I took a look at it, and it's like 45 minutes long. So certainly not something that we can do just quickly at the beginning of a stream like that. So let me see if I can find it. Authors exposed. I had it earlier. Oh well, it's not here. You know what I'm talking about. Radiger. Had a video recently that apparently is pretty funny and talks about a lot of people. So I kind of want to check that out and see what it is. So we'll probably do that next. We'll do that on Tuesday. In the meantime, tomorrow night, me and Harmony will go through all the new SCP Wiki articles. As we do every week, we feature everyone, we synopsize everyone, and we give a little bit of a review of everyone too. So we'll do that tomorrow night. That starts at 7:30 p.m. CST. We'll get through all the new articles that were successfully posted to the SCP Wiki this week. That should be a lot of fun. It's kind of a gauntlet show. It can run anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours. So get your shoes on. And then, of course, Sunday this week we'll have Confic call-in, which on this channel is known as SCP Meta. And that is Sunday at 12 p.m. CST. So check that out if you got the time. If not, all this stuff ends up on YouTube as its permanent home. You can check that out in the YouTube channel or the Twitch links. But I appreciate you checking out tonight, and this has been SCPCRNP, a.k.a. Lack of Lepers, and we'll catch you next time. Abooyah.